Welcome back. And to start with my dear guest live here in the studio, let me first introduce him, Engineer Mustafa Nagari, board member of the Supreme Committee for Strategic Commodities. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you for the invitation once again.
And to start immediately with this very crucial and important fight, food security, I think it's a nightmare now for all economies, whether developed or developing. And in many meetings, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi presided over since the repercussions of COVID-19 and then since the 24th of February invasion of Russia to Ukraine, food security is a priority. And to continue with this, Dr. Said Al-Qusseir, Minister of Agriculture, held recently an important meeting with exporters, agricultural production exporters, if I may say so. First, before going into the details, how do you see investing in this field? Is it enough, or we are very ambitious to do more to attract more investors to invest in this very, let me say, promising and ambitious field?
As we say that challenges will lead always to investment, okay? So the challenges for the food security is a key word everywhere. We have in Egypt a good opportunity for our neighbors, the Arab neighbors, for the Europeans. We are all focusing and seeing the extreme high prices of power. And of course, everybody in Europe who are in the field of agriculture are also looking to try to invest and try to merge with some investors in Egypt or other countries who have less problems than what it might be in Europe, according to what we have seen the last year, according either to the drought or the high prices of power.
Yeah.
So we have a chance, as we say. We are
chance coming from the challenge.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Always it leads to that.
In this meeting, His Excellency Mr. Al-Qusseir said that there are presidential directives to eliminate all obstacles in front of the businessmen who are investing or working in this field, but also there is a will of the state to increase our production and to try to fill this gap between imports and exports. Would you please, sir, elaborate on that?
It is, as we say, it is two lines which are parallel, okay? So the last report, which was declared on 4th of October, just a few days ago, it showed a considerable increase in the exports, okay? So, of course, we are always looking for much more. But if we look for the quantities, there was something like 4 to 5% increase in the quantities than the previous year, the same period. But the revenue was higher, up to 20%.
Yeah.
Because the prices of the food have increased everywhere. Inputs were also high, transport were high. So you can imagine that it is easily that if you are exporter, you will get higher revenue, and we have to benefit out of that. So we reached up to 5.1 million tons of vegetables and the fruits exports, and the revenue was almost 2.9 billion, which was higher than previous year.
And I think that the report detailed, especially the citrus fruits and potatoes, they were on top of the list.
Yeah.
But, sir, let me go directly to strategic commodities like rice, for example.
Yeah.
And there was such a crucial decisions, for example, not to export our rice.
Yes, of course.
And this was taken long ago, relatively long ago.
Yeah.
There are all the time two sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Whether is it the rational and the very wise decision to do so nowadays, or just we can cope with it such few months or let's say few seasons, and then it's going to be better, and we are going to amend the situation, and we are going to fill the gap just to remain on top or to maintain our place in this market. Which is which, and how these decisions are really taken?
one of my hats is I am the head of the Rice and Cereal Committee in the Chamber
And
of
because that I'm
Federation
asking.
of the Chamber of Commerce. So of course I am to decide to try to improve the plantation of rice and to try to export. Okay, there is always bargaining about the consumption of rice, of water for planting rice, and there is always two sides in this way. So my point of view, because I'm always in contact with the U.S., with the California Rice Board, and with Australian rice boards, and they are
Word. I mean, it's something which can happen anywhere because
Yes.
there are global issues regarding food.
Correct.
There are global issues regarding food security, regarding
correct. But we
energy
have
crisis
our
and stuff
production.
like
We
that.
have our production. The government should have, as we say, a sufficient strategic stock of rice to try to stabilize the market. The point from the problem from my point of view is the pricing, how you evaluate the price for the farm, which I think that the prices were given by the Ministry of Food Supply was not correct, because at the end that we should have until this moment not less than 600,000 tons of paddy rice, while what we have in our governmental warehouses is only 50,000. So we got only about 8% of what we should have, because there is a time of harvest, and this should be focused. So I'll not be happy to see that the farmers will be punished according to that. It's a
This is
matter-
something I
yeah,
guarantee,
it's a matter of
and I'm sure
pricing.
of this is not going to happen
Yeah.
because also
Sure,
in many
I hope.
occasions
Yeah.
the safety,
Yeah.
the security,
Yes.
the wellness
Yes.
of the farmers are guaranteed here in
Yes.
Egypt
Yeah.
by all means and
Yeah.
with many initiatives. But we are focusing on something which can be the result of, as I said, negative repercussions of many global incidents which are taking
Yeah.
place. Let's return back, if you permit me, to this meeting which took place between Minister of Agriculture and the businessmen.
Yeah.
The recommendations, our homework, what we can do just
Yeah.
to improve the quality of our production and to make sure that we are on the right path to fill the needs or the demands of the domestic or the local market, and also to open new horizons for our products outside.
So, first of all, we succeeded for the last 3 or 4 years to have a good system to control the agriculture in Egypt, especially for both for the exports and for the local market. So we have a good team in the central department of the plant guaranteer. They are doing a good job. They are coding the farms which are qualified to produce the product as requirements in the global, as we say. We have also the National Food Security Association, which is also linked to try to adapt the job according to the international protocol of the food safety all over the world. So I think we are doing fine. It's only that we have to look for some issues which will improve the accessibility and the exaction of the whole process of the industry of agriculture exports. First of all, the seeds and the seedlings we are producing here in the research, our national research centers, but also we are importing a lot of seeds and seedlings according to that Egypt have joined the UPOF, which we have talked before. It's about the union of the producers of the seeds all over the world. And this is a very strong organization, and Egypt is a member. So we are allowed now to import these seeds and seedlings. So to try to register these seeds in the ministry, it takes a long time. And we were talking about that with the minister, and also to try to adjust the control on the pesticides. It's very
And
important.
fertilizers.
Fertilizers is something else. It's a matter of distribution. So which also.
But
was
also, I mean,
talking,
it was
but
taken into consideration and it was discussed because of its importance
of
regarding
course,
the agricultural
but just
sector.
before to come to the fertilizers, we have to talk much more about the pesticides, because pesticides is a very important issue in the process of plantation, because
Sure.
if you don't control it, so it can damage the production.
The whole crop?
Yeah. So it's a very important. That's why until this moment, I can tell you that we don't feel that there is a good control on the pesticide distribution and manufacturing in Egypt. Only few, I have to say that, few very good and reliable producers, which we all are always linked to them
Resort
to try
to-
to,
resort
but
to, yeah.
I'm not talking about specific strip of the producer or the investor.
Sure.
We
are
are
talking in
always
general.
saying we are always saying that the great force, if we say, in the production in Egypt, either in agriculture or industry, is the SMEs. And
Sure.
this is really the key word and the job which the Minister of Agriculture have to help and to try to give a success story or
And to guarantee
success model.
sustainability.
Yes.
Because every one of them
Yeah.
is eager to continue successfully with his project, or her, of course.
It's not the world now. It is not living for the small sector. They have to help them to join in a clusters and try to be having a better competitiveness according to what we see. So that's
Maximizing
why-
our agricultural production
Yes.
and to support the competitiveness of our products. This is, I can say, the strategy of our country. True?
Correct, correct. So this is very important. The transport is an issue, either the sea transport or the air freight. Both of them are really still a big problem, because we have seen the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. So not all the shipping lines
Are working.
international shipping lines. It's not belonging to Egypt. So we kept on saying that there should be specifically shipping lines working for the Egyptian exports and imports. And this is, I think, a paper which was delivered
Published.
to the Ministry of Transport, and he's studying that precisely, and I think in the coming 1 or 2 months we will hear good news about
Inshallah.
that. For the air freight, of course, Egypt Air, it's our national,
Carrier.
yeah, but they are charging high as the international air freights, and then we are trying to negotiate with them to try to give the space and the reasonable freights. Otherwise, privates are able to make chartering specific flights to deliver their fruits, especially if we talk about the strawberry as an item. This item is, we call it expensive exported item in the agriculture. It's different than the citrus, it's different than the potatoes.
According
or
to
the
its
onions.
nat- to
It's
its
very
nature,
expensive.
yes.
And we have only a map or a window for Egypt, specifically in the Christmas and the New Year time. We are the only producer in the whole world in this period. And if we can concentrate just in 20 or 25 days, you
This is
can
such
have
an information. We are the
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
producer in the whole
the
world.
only at that specific time. So we have always to say that, we have always to see the world and where the
We
window
have to see it,
which
to
we
see it
have
from
to
a
enter.
panoramic view, if we can say so,
Yeah.
and to have this comprehensive system.
Yeah.
When you were talking, sir, you were talking about the Ministry of Agriculture,
Yes,
Ministry
it's
of
linked.
Industry,
Yeah.
Internal Trade,
Yeah.
Supply, Civil Aviation, meaning that there should be all the time this panoramic view and to take care of every
It's
side
industry. All
of the
the
issue.
ministers are there, even
Yeah.
the Minister of Finance, because the customs are,
Let's
it's
go
a one
to.
issue.
I'm going to
Yeah.
ask one final question regarding this, and we're going to go to fisheries because this is also a very important file. Today, there were some statements which were released by Dr. Ali Musalhi, Minister of Supply and Internal Trades, and he was speaking about the importance of the silos and to what extent they made such a leap.
Yeah.
And what the construction of the silos, or to take silos into consideration as part and parcel of our strategy regarding our agricultural production, this was something really which was taken on time. And the implementation of this system was also on time. If you want to elaborate on that.
This this is one of the main goals of President Sisi, is to try to have always sufficient stocks of the strategic food, as we say, for the Egyptians. So we started since 4 or 5 years. We have only sufficiency of 1 or 2 months, and then we reached 6 months, and now we are targeting 9 months. And this was, thanks God, because what we are seeing now is a big nightmare.
Sure.
The problem which you are facing now is that prices of commodities, it can be released, and then we can just
It's
try
gonna
to
work
ease
like that,
down, because
yes.
inflation and the high prices at the moment in the market, it is not real. It's just a reflection of the lack of delivery and release of these commodities from the port. So everybody is trying to solve, but there is a sufficient stocks, I can say, from the wheat, from the corn. Edible oil is an issue which we will talk about it.
If you want to start speaking about this, would you please go ahead?
Edible oil is one of the big problems for Egypt, and I can feel all the houses, the families have seen this tremendously increases during the last 1.5 years. The problem in the oil, it is that the planting, the
oil crops, if we can name
oil
it this way.
It is centralized in few countries. It's not spreaded as if we talk
distributed
about
all over the
rice
world,
or
as
wheat
we
or
can
oil.
talk about
Yeah.
and other crops.
So at the end, if you talk about the palm oil, palm oil is one of the most important types of oils for the Egyptians. If we can say that 50% of the consumption in Egypt of the oil, which is about 1.8 million tons a year, so about 900,000 tons every year from palm oil only. And this is only allocated in Indonesia, in Malaysia, some in Nigeria, some in Colombia, which really is not close to Egypt, and you don't have big chances to try to import or to compromise. So this is one of the issues which we have to talk about it today, because palm oil.
We are talking about it. How do you see the solution? I mean, is it to consider we do have nearly 1.5 million fendans to be reclaimed, and this is one of our mega projects. Should we take into consideration that big part of this should be totally allocated to this kind of crops, or what?
Palm, it needs a specific environment, a specific soil. And then you have to look to the area which can really give a good production, which is not in Egypt. You have to think outside the box. You have to go to African countries, to the west of Africa, because this is an area which really can be
How we can
good.
compensate, if not palm oil, what? Of course, there are some oil crops which we can cultivate here. I mean, our temperature, our weather, it's
We can
let's say approximately good all the year.
Okay,
So
I will just explain to you how the map of edible oil works in Egypt. So if we say that we need 1.8 million tons of oil every year, 50% are the palm oil, and the other 50 is the sunflower and the soybean oil, and some others, but with not a considerable quantity, if we say. So the chances which we can do in our country is for the sunflower, which it is easily to be planted in the
in
new
our weather
areas.
and in
Yes,
our
the-
soil,
and
yeah.
also it gives, you can have 3 cycles per year for the
Great.
sunflowers here. So with just a small area, you can have a good production out of that. At the end, 1 acre of sunflower plantation can produce something like 750 to 800 liters of sunflower.
Okay.
So if you can triple that per year, because you can have 3 cycles, it is it
3
is good.
seasons.
So that's why a part of the new projects, you remember that we have, I think this in our previous meeting, that a part of this will be for the sunflower oil, because this can be planted in Egypt. But for the palm oil, no, you have to go outside the country. I'm happy to pronounce that government of Uganda is offering Egypt 20,000 acres of land
To cultivate.
to cultivate, and we will have
As if we are
few days.
renting their
Yeah.
land,
Yeah,
the
I think
agricultural
in 14th
soil.
of October we
Yeah,
will
inshallah.
meet with them.
And
So
there's all
maybe
the
we
time
can-
a win-win situation.
Of
And
course, of course.
cooperation among different states, particularly
Yeah.
our African allies, it's not a luxury anymore. It's a must to face the challenges that are facing all of us.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
this crisis, as we say, the challenges have led us to think outside the box, to try to merge with other countries, if we can say. So, as you mentioned, that the food security is a very important issue for everybody.
And it's a must to find solutions.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, it's very sad to see some of the European countries having empty shelves on supermarkets, and to say that every citizen should have only 1 bottle of oil, for example, or 1 kilo of sugar or rice
Yeah.
or stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is something which I think was not there in the hardest nightmares of all of us. I mean, if you came to me and say that this is going to happen next year, I don't think that I was going to believe that this is going to be the case in Germany,
Yeah.
in Spain, in Italy.
You have also to know that they are subsidized. The agriculture is subsidized. You know,
This is another issue.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even with that, the competitiveness is getting a little bit far, and Egypt have these chances, I think, to increase. We have still a lot of problems, bureaucratic problems.
But
for
I
the
think
lands,
that
for the
bureaucracy in specific is going to be eliminated, inshallah, from our
economic form.
our vocabulary.
Yeah.
I think
I
because it was mentioned more than once, whether by the president or by Prime Minister Dr. Madbouli or by many of the ministers speaking in specific about this. But sir, let's go, because unfortunately we're running out of time, and we want to speak about fisheries, and we want to speak also about the state's efforts to have many fisheries and to lining the canals, for example, and to clean our lakes and to regain the brilliant side of the coin of El Manzala, of course, of El Mariutaya, Nasser, you name it.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of lakes which were unfortunately neglected for years and years.
Yes,
But
correct.
now the case is totally different. If you want to start speaking about this.
I have to say that without the efforts which were done to increase the fish production in Egypt, we would today be in a very, very bad situation. You can look for the prices of the chicken and of the beef, and the problem of the animal feed prices. What can you imagine? So thanks God that there was always a plan to increase the production of fish in Egypt. So today we are having a production of about 2.5 million tons of fish. Egypt is #1 in the production of the mullet, هو البوري,
Yeah.
سمك البوري, and of the talabia, اللي هو بولتي.
Yep.
So we are increasing.
And seafood, by the way. Seafood
There is
in general.
other types.
There are other
but
types.
I'm just
Yeah.
talking about that we are getting #1 in Africa and in the
In those two kinds in
Mediterranean-
specific.
Mediterranean basin. So upgrading, if we can say, upgrading the lakes of Egypt, which we have about 8. We have المنزلة, البرولوس, كفر الشيخ, قارون, البردويل, إدكو, مريوط, and Nasser. For decades, there was no improvement. I can say that only one lake, which is Manzala, which was 750,000 acres, and it came to the end to 35,000. You can imagine how we are.
Sir, it was the
just-
hideouts of criminals
Yeah.
too. Now the case is
Today,
totally
I can
different.
say we
Now
are
there
reaching-
are new communities
Yes, it
and
is, yeah.
new facilities for
Correct.
all those who want to start even their businesses there.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I can say that improving all these lakes have increased our production with the new industrial fisheries, the farms, the one in Kafr al-Sheikh, the one in Sinai, the one in. There is always increase, and
This was my
Egypt-
coming question, sir,
Yeah.
regarding all those fisheries scattered all over Egypt. I mean, they were
Yes.
not
It's a good
centralized in center
It's a good
in.
business. Yeah.
This is what I wanted
It's
to
a
speak
good
about.
investment.
Is it something which is going to be more attractive for investors in the coming period of time?
Of course, because I think if you compare the protein, the protein for the poultry, or for the cattle, or for the fish, I think that we are going to increase our production in fish much more. We have about, I said, 2.5 million tons of fish every year, out of which 2 million is coming from the fish farms, which was lately re-cleaned or re-upgraded or. And this really is increasing
And
our
I don't know,
production.
sir, would you please correct me if I'm wrong? All these achievements which took place on the ground, many of them were in partnership with the private sector, of course, and with
Yeah.
also foreign expertise.
Correct.
I mean, we had partnership, if we may say, with other countries who are very much developed in this field, and we already, let's say, copied their experience or made something similar to what they have done. I mean, we built on where they
Many
they have
countries are
ended already.
participating. Many countries are participating. Don't forget also what we call it, the sea boxes, which is Holland is playing a big role with us in that. So the increasing the production is trying to give a sort of stability for the prices of the fish at the moment in Egypt. We are still working for that. Egypt is doing a great job on that, I can tell. As in poultry, we have reached about 98% of sufficiency. The problem maybe is for the
Engineer
animal
Nagari,
feed.
unfortunately, I have only 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have from you a summary.
Okay.
Or to speak just in those 2 minutes about the coming period. Should we feel secure regarding our food production, regarding our agricultural production, regarding our imports and exports. How do you see the coming period of time?
2 minutes is not enough, but I'm going to tell you that the economic forum, which President Sisi called for it, and it will be sponsored by him, and of course the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, will be there, that it always gives a good sign for the privates, that the government and the President doesn't like to go to each other and to talk to each other. They want to talk with the investors. They like to talk with us, so we can at the end come to a certain point. We have a very good papers, not only one paper, which is the food security and for the logistics and for the relation between the government and the private sector, and how to try to gather the SMEs together to work. And this is
financial inclusion.
That. The end, I have to say that Egypt is having a very good chance. We succeeded to sign the protocol as the Egyptian Business Association, Expolinc, which I'm honored to be the vice chairman, with the Italians. So they are going to invite us, about 20 companies. They are going to be in Italy to present their agri-products. The Italians will cover the air flights and the accommodation for the Egyptians.
And inshallah, this is going to be only a start, inshallah. We are very optimistic, and inshallah tomorrow is going to be a better day.
Okay.
Well, Engineer Mustafa Nagari, board member of the Supreme Committee for Strategic Commodities, I was honored to have you in this episode, sir. Thank you very much for your input. Have a very good night, and we are going to leave you, sir, with a promise to see you again in more episodes of our program.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, now we are going to go to my dear colleague and friend Manali Ibiari, as we are going to listen the most important economic events which took place in the past 7 days. By this, we come to the end of our episode. Till we meet again same time on Nile TV International. Many thanks for watching. This was Nermeen Abdurrahman.